Greetings, everyone. Welcome. Hello, Ricky, Cece, Tarot by Lupo. Lovely to see you here.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, we've already got some questions coming in.
Good question.
Let's go.
We're going to get right to it here.
Yeah.
Okay, Cece. Could someone who is unvaxxed be negatively impacted if they have sex with someone who is vaxxed?
Oh.
Yep.
Good question. Hi,
Yeah,
Ethan.
big one.
Susan.
Hello.
So awesome to see our loyal crew here. We're always delighted. We're always before the lives. We're like, I wonder what's going to come up today. I wonder where we're going to go, because it doesn't feel like almost as though we go on a bit of a journey.
Thank you so much for bringing all of your questions and showing up. And please like, share, and subscribe as much as we can. Keep this channel growing.
Yeah, we've got some big plans for the new year.
Yeah. Hello, Janice.
Hi, Janice.
Welcome. Okay, so I'm going to just focus on our question here. Mama, do you have anything to say?
I want to just speak briefly about where we are in terms of astrologically. We've just had this new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. I did a fantastic live show with Tanya and Norma from Adventures for Connections yesterday regarding this exact time and space and coming up into the winter solstice turn of events in the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll put a link to that below after we get finished on the live so that you can go over and have a peek at that, because it was an amazing discussion as always with those profound beings. Hi, Colleen, Adele, lovely to see you. Mini Hobby Farm.
Okay, here we go. Let's have a look.
This has been a question. I used to see it a lot. A lot of people used to ask about this, and it's sort of, fallen off the radar a little bit. Obviously, we have sites like Unjabbed where there's a lot of information about this. This is their specialty.
Interesting.
In fact, we're going to put the cards up bigger so that you can see them.
Bigger.
There we go.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Superty duper.
Wow.
What do we think?
Well, we've got 2 sevens. So doubles is a mastery in the realm of the sevens, and we
have 5, 6, 7 in swords too.
Yeah, sort of like a run.
Quite a journey.
So this doubles of a kind, 2 of a kind is mastery. The sevens are, the heavens, right? It's like this energy of spirituality, and a lot related to this new moon in Sag and sun in Sag energy, a lot about our spiritual ethics. So I really get that we're talking about a few different qualities, right? We're talking about ethics and how you're affected, because it feels to me when we see this, the emotional card, the mental card, the energy card, and the physical card. We've got all 4 elements here. So in a way, I think we're looking at, when you say, what's the impact? Is it just on the physical body? Is it on the emotional, mental, metaphysical, psychic body, and so on? So tell me what you're seeing there, Crystal.
Yeah, I feel as though it's been a long time that we've been kind of holding our ground and really honoring our physical beings, honoring our physical bodies. A lot of us that this is our temple, and we've made a big choice to not follow along and get the prescribed. So, I mean, and it's caused some friction. Definitely. And so could it have a negative effect? I I mean, I still don't know that we could really say in the long term of it all, but it certainly, as Mom was saying, has an effect in so many ways on our systems, from our emotions to our mind, causing, however, it does seem to open up communication,
Mhm.
re-strategizing around safety. So if you are working with someone and your heart is with them, then how do you strategize together to find ways to research the protocols, find different strategies about
Mhm.
how to be physical together and work together
Yeah.
to say, you know what, we don't really know, and maybe we're going to stop sort of going at each other and work together, because if the heart is involved,
Mhm.
then have some clear communication, a lot of respect, and yeah, really work together to, because if that somebody is vaccinated, then hopefully, working with you, they can get on a protocol to clear that out of their system
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So it does seem like taking some physical action, no matter what,
Mhm.
to really honor the body and re-strategize,
Beautiful.
communicate together.
Thank you, Crystal.
Mm.
I feel like when I look at this, I see like love conquers all. It's at the top here. It's sort of like unconditional love. And yet it does feel with this 6 and 5. We know the 6 is the communicator card. It's clearing. As long as the communication and the willingness to work together, as Crystal said, is there, and there's a respect around that,
Mhm.
it could actually move us into a place of learning. As Crystal was saying, the strategy here, we could actually learn and evolve together.
Mhm.
And it could be a beneficial thing. But obviously, it's not ideal if you don't have that kind of clear communication and love to begin with. Like, it's sort of like the love and the clear communication, the willingness to be transparent, that sets a tone, and a lot can be cleared and healed. This Queen of Pentacles, she is an earth queen. She's about the physical
Mhm.
body. She's about drawing,
Working with earth medicine and
yeah,
mhm.
and kind of drawing the very best um, protocols, as Crystal was saying, to you. So I feel like it is very case specific, as so often is the case. But I just love that we have these two spiritual cards at the beginning. The
Mhm.
first card, the 7 of Wands, which is valor. It's like, are we going about this for the right reasons? It's like, are we just going to say, oh, there's no effect whatsoever on any of our bodies, and we can just have, random casual sex with whoever we want? Maybe that isn't the most ideal sort of spiritual valor to approach this with. But if you already have a relationship that is unconditionally loving and open to working on strategies together and respecting each other, it really could be a lot of what could potentially be negative impacts could be not only mitigated, but you could actually grow from that. As Crystal was saying, the person who has been vaxxed can, through dedication to the protocols, they can actually clear themselves. And I do know, just off the top of my head, at least 2 couples that's the case with them. And it's been beautiful
Mhm.
to watch them.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just want to
There
scroll up.
also isn't any, like, scary health-looking cards here or anything like that, so it's a lot more about, um, yeah, what it brings up, what it stirs up that affects our body. So there was one more question before Ethan, I feel like. What did we have here? Oh, no, we're
Yep.
good.
I want to go just quickly to late.
Go, mama.
Put her comment. There she is. And she put her comment in about her putting her cup out. I have my cup out. If you're interested in letting me share that, let me know if that's a story that you'd be open to me sharing, because I just think it was so delightful. This is one of my clients, and she had a session with me the other day, and a beautiful, now it wasn't a protocol about vaccine injury necessarily, but it was a protocol about working with the nature spirits, with our ancestors, with our spirit guides, and so on, and forming like a bond and a relationship with them. So it's just interesting that cup was the first card.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, what's this cup?
Yeah. So if you're okay with me sharing that story, we could go there. Okay. Ethan's got the next question.
Hello.
Hi, Ethan.
Hi.
What is in store from this paradigm shift that has happened in the last few days? I've heard it called a timeline jump. Well, welcome to the timeline jumps. We have had so many of them, and let's have a look. I really feel like this might tie into the question.
1,000 years
Yes,
of peace occurred already.
Mini Hobby Farm's question about 1,000 years of peace and the times of Tartaria. And then also, okay.
Are we going into 10 days of darkness?
Yes, Susan's question. Okay. And then Janice, I really want to speak to your question about your partner falling down and feeling like they were pushed, because I had some really powerful dreams last night and gave some insight around this exact thing. So let's make sure we get
first. Yeah, I'm loving it. First, we're going to get into Ethan. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It is so lovely. The chat is full today. It's so beautiful to see all of you here. I can so feel the energy of everybody coming in. Mama, give that a little
love.
Mm-hmm.
A little love going on here from the paradigm shift. And you know what, Ethan, I feel like your question sort of sets the tone for a lot of what else is on the questions so far today, because we are looking at, does a shift always mean that things get instantly better? Does a shift mean that even a positive shift, does it mean we get to, put on our scuba diving equipment and go deeper? So let's have a look at what you need to know about what just happened.
Hey, there's our queen again.
There she is. Yeah, right. That's what I suspected. Uh-huh. Right.
All these pentacles. Okay.
Stay in the body.
That's
stay
right.
in the physical. Stay in 3D. Don't just, you'll notice there's not a single sword here. So they're saying, we need to really keep it physical, work a lot in the physical. It's like we want so badly to evolve and flourish. And yet we can't go, the interdimensional reality, I say this over and over again, it is informed by being informed. So once we expand out into past like 5, 6, 7D and beyond, we're into the abstraction of just pure consciousness, more or less. And in that state, nothing really there's no contrast. There's not a lot of big evolution. It's just kind of like big picture perspective. So when we're in body, when we're in the lower, what we call the lower, but what I just want to refer to as more like the denser vibrational frequencies of the first 3 dimensions or chakras, we are actually integrating, we are like literally making sense of consciousness and creating a new reality through our ingestion and metabolization of consciousness. So it's, instead of it being this terrible curse that we have these bodies that are so troublesome and why can't they just be pure light and pure consciousness? Well, once we get to that dimension, there's no more awareness of a self. It's just experience. So unless we've actually brought those first 3 dimensions up with us. So this is big metaphysics, folks. And this is what we are looking at here, is we've got to work in the physical. So what's in store for this paradigm shift? Timeline jump.
I feel like every time that we have these timeline jumps and we have these shifts, we go through all of these layers of discovering where our stickiness is, like what in our physical body, all these realms that we're traveling through. It's like almost like every time that we shift or that we travel, we get exposed to the parts that we struggle with, our shadow parts, our escapism parts, the parts of our bodies that are challenged, the parts of our spirits that are challenged, our triggers, all of that kind of stuff. But it's ultimately, it's this like beautiful steady path towards our true strength, like our deepest nature, our deepest like animal nature. And that yes, we have begun the journey of these paradigm shifts happening here, and there's a lot of energetic mastering our energy bodies with this King of Wands. Mastering our energy bodies is such a gift.
The Ace of Pentacles.
The Ace of Pentacles, what a journey to be going on. And to be discovering how, even with again working with the plant medicines, our physical beings, and really supporting each other and doing that.
And this slow and steady look at all those pentacles, as Crystal was referring to, is like, so what do we need to know about this jump? It does activate the places in the physical realm that are needing healing. So that can be physical healing, metaphysical, psychological health, and so on. But it's all connected to the denser first three dimensions. And it's almost like you go in and you go, I never saw that problem before, or that problem didn't feel so huge. Janice, we're going to get to this around your partner's fall. That problem didn't knock me over 6 months ago or even 6 weeks ago, but now it's just so tremendous I can't even look away. And we're like, well, where did that come from? Am I attracting dark entities? What's going on? And what's happening is it's like it's a purge. The stuff from the deep recesses of our consciousness, of our collective consciousness, are coming up. And those of us that have the strength to hold this and metabolize it and turn it into a gift, well, a lot is being asked of us, but what an honor, what a great work. And you can't go fast. I just got one of those little tea things, in my tea last night, the little papers with the little quotes on it. And it said, nature never hurries, but always gets everything accomplished. So it's this natural instinct to slow down and not try to rush through this uncomfortable stuff, because in it is the gold. In it is the real gifts. The real changes in 3D physical reality are going to be made possible, brought to you on a station near you, through you, which is you saying, you know what, I'm going to have the courage to put on my deep dive suit here and just stick with the program.
It's a long game, keeping our eye on the prize of like all of this, this up leveling that we're doing. This whole new timeline that we're moving into. But it's a journey. We're still physical human beings here that we're working with. So,
and beautifully so.
Exactly.
Beautifully so. Like, that is not a shameful thing. That's the trick that we've been tricked into thinking it's shame. The physical body is filled with shame. That's the big cleanup mission here, folks, is getting rid of all that garbage, that shame nonsense. It's outdated. We got the lesson from it. We don't need that anymore. And it's a big job to clear it out, because it's in every cell of your body. It's deep in the bones. By the way, I just want to say, isn't she amazing?
Every time. She's so cute.
I mean,
I learned from the best.
I'm listening to her going, oh my gosh, I get to share space with this extraordinary being who's so wise, and was this incredibly wise elder counsel from the time she was like 2 years old and could talk. Seriously, I would go to her for advice and counsel from the time she was a little wee one. And so I'm just so honored and delighted that she's now on our website, and that you can access her wisdom, her grounded, practical, really supportive counsel through either, tarot readings, intuitive readings, energy clearing, and her coaching system that she learned from one of her great mentors and friends called Conscious Evolver Coaching Program. And this system is so phenomenal. So I really encourage you to book a session with Crystal. Check the links below. And yeah, you can come on over to our website and find her there because she's a real gift.
Thank you, Mama.
You're welcome.
Shucks. Okay.
We've got mini hobby farm.
Yes, we do.
Next. The 1,000 Years of Peace. I'm really curious to see what the cards say. I've got my own little rant. I'll try to keep it short.
Did we come here for short or shallow rants? I don't know. Okay, I love this. I'm going to get you to put your love into this too here.
Speaking of love, look at that.
Oh,
That's on the bottom.
2 cups.
Divine union is what that is. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just like that.
Just
cut her up.
Like that. There we go.
1,000 years of peace.
Ooh. Whoa. Drum roll.
Oh. No small questions happening here.
Wow.
Jeez.
Well.
Okay.
Thanks for the question.
Ready to rant, Mama? Lay it on us.
No, you go first.
No. Okay. Okay. You mean if you go, then I might not be able to talk at all? Let's see here. No. Well, I mean, I would say with this card, with the question, more than likely not. The 1,000 years of peace have not occurred already. However, geez, really, what we've gone through has really turned us into these spiritual warriors, these beings that have been continuously gathering the skills and upgrading our energy systems. And I mean, we're really, I think, wow, this age of Aquarius that's come in, this whole new up-leveled reality portal that we've gone through, I feel like we have been almost like these little beings that have been going through this experience, walking through so much of the darkness, through so much of the shadow, through probably 1,000 years of stuff like this going on. And we're kind of being born again into this little being here on the horse that's just like, like the sun is coming out. So I kind of feel like these years are yet to come. And yet in that, it's still going to be a lot of energetic shifting, a lot of transmuting energy that's going to happen. And we're really going to have to take, put our best foot forward in that and really come into our internal spiritual warriors. And step through this gateway into this new realm together, into celebration over standing chained to so much fear. We're going to step into this whole reality of really coming together and stepping into celebration and union and higher vibrational beings.
Beautiful.
That's my little piece on it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Crystal.
Okay.
Interesting, Mimi, because you're asking, has it happened already in the times of Tartaria? So I think part of what's a little bit challenging with that reference point is that there's an idea that we missed the boat and it's over, and now we're just in this awful other realm. And I prefer to see the cyclical nature, which is not just that we go around the same old merry-go-round and do the exact same things epoch after epoch after epoch. Each time, it's sort of like time does not move linear, it moves in spirals, but it moves through time and space. So if you think of a spiral moving along like this, it's like every time it goes around, it's actually, and they've proven that the sun, everything moves through the universe like this. Every time it goes around a cycle, it is different. It is more advanced. It is more, I don't know, maybe advanced isn't the right word, but it's more complete. It's like the Fibonacci sequence that gets more perfect the further it radiates out. So have we had 1,000 years of peace in the past? That was the time of Tartaria. It's very possible. And that we have forgotten that time. We went to sleep. We went through the dark ages. There's lots of different timeline references to this. We've got the 2,500 year cycles, which is what Crystal was referring to with the age of Aquarius. We've got the 12,500 year cycle, which is the precession of the equinoxes. This feels to me like it's very hard for us right from where we are right now to remember how beautiful it's been many, many, many times throughout our human evolution. It has been beautiful and also challenging. So I think we've had cycle upon cycle upon cycle, but where are we right now? That's the important question to ask. We are on the brink of walking out of the dark age, right? In the Kali Yuga cycle, walking toward the golden age again. So we will have this again. It is scheduled, it is unavoidable, because that's the nature of like night and day, darkness and light. After the dark time comes the light. And interesting, what I'm being shown here is because of this 5 of Wands and this 9 of Wands, there's a lot of work to be done. And it's sort of the analogy they're showing me is like as if you were sort of closed off in a dark room for, let's just say 1,500 years, 15,000 years, closed off into darkness. And then all of a sudden the curtains start to get opened like this, right? The curtains opening, the sunlight gets brought in. And what do you see when the curtains open? You see how dirty the room is, right? It's like gross, right? If you've after a long winter, or you clean the windows, or the sun comes out and you're like, oh, I can see dust everywhere. Everything looks so gross. I've been living in this filth, like, right? That's kind of where we're at. We're like, ooh, I've been living in filth. Yuck. I'm going to clean everything. So there's a lot of cleaning to be done. But that doesn't mean that we're in the darker time. Just because we can see the dirt better is actually because we're in more light. Does that make sense to everybody? We can see the yucky because we're actually getting brighter. This leads really nicely into Susan's question
10 days of darkness.
Janice's question. So let's go. We'll start with Susan's. December 13th, Santa Lucia celebration in Scandinavia, lots of Northern Europe. We're 10 days away from this. And is this going to be the 10 days of darkness? I mean, I just can't help but point out, well, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, the further north you go, the more you're going to be in darkness. So yeah, it's definitely classically, historically through time, this is the dark time of the year. So let's just look at, I think what you're referring to, are we actually going to go globally into a kind of dark reset? And what does that look like? Yeah, let's have a look. Thanks, Mini Hobby Farm, for your feedback.
Okay, so I feel like we could pull just 3 cards on this.
Sure, sounds good, Crystal.
Um,
Want me to maybe divide the deck?
yes, I do indeed.
Let's do it over here so everybody can see. Da-da, da-da, da-da. Hi, Linda. Thanks for your comment. Love the show and the loving energies that flow from both of you. Well, it's like looking in the mirror. We're reflecting back the love we're feeling from all
so
of you.
much, so much. Thank you, Lorna, as well. It was lovely to read for you also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, curious. So 10 days of darkness. Crystal, will you pull the next 2 cards? I want to see, is this helping us? Is this helping us? Yeah, maybe slide them up a little wee bit.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, thank you.
Blah.
Is this helping us? And then one more in the middle.
Yeah, I was feeling that too.
Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so we've got Hermit, 2 of Swords, 7 of Wands, and the Magician, Page of Cups, and the 7 of Pentacles. We've got 2 sevens again. A little theme going on here. Mastery in the realm of spiritual development, the inner heaven. And then we've got that darkness card, right? That the Hermit is not afraid of the dark, like he chooses to go into the darkness to find his inner light.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
And if we have the 2 cards that are associated with your question being the Hermit, like the 2 major arcanas are the Hermit and the Magician, and we asked, is this going to be for our benefit? I feel like it is. Is this kind of a scheduled total darkness blackout, or is this more of an energetic inward invitation? It could be a bit of both, but I'm not really getting a feeling of any external big blast of shutting down our power and like putting us into, I'm getting it being more an inside job. What are you feeling, Crystal, when you look at that?
Yeah, definitely an inside job. I feel like this time of darkness is it's such a chance and a blessing and a chance to be internal. And it's almost like even if there isn't a scheduled darkness, to almost give yourself the privilege of taking even a couple of days and go into that space of retreat, into that space of, maybe we only use candles for a couple days. Maybe there's only the light of the moon that guides us. And like, maybe we go back to what is natural in terms of going more into a space of our own internal light. And even if we're not being pushed into this darkness, how can we step into 10 days is a lot, and that northern hemisphere and some of those Scandinavian people, right, they're really able to step into that in a powerful way, because during this time of year they have so much of that darkness, right, and they have so much of the practices that go along with that. But for us to pick up even a couple of days of really going into those spaces, creating your own type of retreat, and being gentle with yourself in it, having a lot of like compassion. And it's a time and a place to, of course, create magic, and also to kind of take stock of how you're stepping into this new year, how you're coming out of this darkness, and who you're becoming. and how you're going to step physically into this next stage, guided by your own internal light, by your spiritual energy body, and creating that magic. And again, the gentleness with yourself, that self-compassion in that place, because in the darkness things can come up, right? But we've been trained to be afraid of it, but actually that could be where a lot of the magic exists, right? So
Susan has gone on to say, yes, the event we're waiting for, the change of guards of sorts, when Trump will step into the scene officially again. And I realize that's what you're referring to, Susan. And what I'm being shown from this spread is that what we're looking at is almost a collective space holding, like almost an energy like we may not need to go through that extreme of a on-off switch even than was predicted a few months ago. It might be a bit more effortless, I'm getting. And what, as Crystal was referring to, it feels most important that what we're doing is we're setting the tone for what we want the future to look like, not just like what, we say, okay, the white hats have these agendas and they've got this plan and they've got this great design and aren't they amazing? And yes, some or all of that could be true to an extent. However, we each carry our own design of what an ideal future of a beautiful new earth would look like. They are not the God-given experts of what new earth looks like. They have a version, they have their version of what would make America better, what would make the world better, what would make Canada better and Europe and so on. But it may not be the highest that we can reach for. And it feels important that we move away from depending on other people to design our future. This is a time to take, as Crystal was saying, even a couple of days over this next 2 or 3 weeks and reflect on, if you're really, really honest with yourself, what does your beautiful new America, new earth look like? And it's okay if it varies a little from the agenda of these leaders that we're putting a lot of faith into. It's okay for it to be your, you may not even know. Like, I think one of the beautiful things of where we are right now is that we finally have enough breathing room to take a breath and say, okay, I'm going to get in touch with myself and see like what I actually really want, because I've been so busy fighting on the front line that I haven't had a chance to even think of what looks like a beautiful dream of a new earth to me. I'm kind of, adopting someone else's version, and I haven't even given myself the dignity to take the time to imagine within, go to my own guides and say, what does my new earth look like? Because it feels like our collective inner voice, our collective inner vision is what's actually going to build that new earth, new paradigm. And it's greater than the sum of its parts is what I'm hearing. So yeah. Okay. I'm thinking more, okay, I'm just going to, we've got so many questions jumping up here. I'm just going to.
That's okay.
Finish with Susan's last question here, and then I'm going to go back to Janice. I want to go back to Janice's question.
Absolutely. And Tarot by Lupo, that's an interesting one there. Okay. I'm curious about that. We'll wrap her up with that.
So thinking more of dark truths coming out in MSM and other things that will wake people up from their way, from wars to economic crisis, depending on where you live. Really can't wait for others to understand. Yes, absolutely. And so it's interesting, right? Because almost what I'm being shown here, and this is the last card that came up, is we leave a lot of that awakening intel. We've been looking at it for years, right? We kind of are it's sort of like preaching to the choir. We're just like, yeah, yawn, whatever. Okay, we know all this. It feels like those of us, we're at the thin edge of the wedge. We're at the front of the pioneering the new earth and the new visions. It's for us, like, let those narratives be kind of propagated and expressed, and the polarization, the dramatics, the drama is still playing out big, right? So that people can actually see things. Beautiful. Many of you on this live, we've got other work to do now. Our work is to go inward and really get in touch with where, if we got all these new recruits coming on board, where are we taking them? And are we only taking them in the direction of the narratives that are being presented by this, new, amazing, kind of wild renegade government? I'm not saying that isn't good, but I'm saying we don't want to just stop there. We want to go beyond even what's being proposed, and we don't want to drop the ball at this point and say, okay, good, now I don't have to do anything, you guys just show us what new earth looks like.
There's 2 7s and 2 2s here, so we're really like, obviously we're not just going to walk away from having, being involved in different researching different things, communicating on different platforms and all of that kind of stuff, right? Because we want to stay informed and we want to stay educated, and we also want to really stay in, grounded in our energy fields and protective of where we're putting our energy, where we're putting our physical time and our money, our finances over this time of the year. This started out with going into darkness. Where are we putting our energy bodies and spending our wealth during this time? How are we walking in a new direction and creating new realities outside of what everybody else is saying as well? Like, we're really working on walking between the worlds and juggling in a more graceful, balanced, masterful way, and not getting sucked in to systems and conversations and different types of programming and all that's out there right now. That's why it's taking a couple of days away. What really matters to me? Like Mom was saying, right? And then we step forward and lead from that place.
I mean, these 2 cards are probably the most solo operators of all the 22 major arcana. Maybe the High Priestess too, but like, this is like really solo work. So there we go.
So
solo.
Back up to Janet.
Yeah. Okay, Janice. I just have to quickly tell you while Crystal's shuffling on this. We'll find it.
I'll find it.
Okay, you find it. It was up a little further than that, I think.
Oh my gosh, we've missed so many things.
So Janice, I believe your question, I can just sort of start talking about it.
I got her.
Right there. Yeah. Your partner fell down some stairs on Thanksgiving and felt he was pushed. Was it an energy? Thank you. Was it an outside energy? Obviously, yeah. And I'm sorry to hear this.
Yes.
And it is very disconcerting. And interestingly, I just had a night last night of working with what I want to call, let's just say, controlling, dominant, manipulative energy. It was kind of in between. It was sort of, how you have a dream, and in the dream, you're having a dream, and you're trying to wake up from the dream in the dream. It was one of those. But it was very lucid. I was very aware that I was dreaming, at least dreaming on one level. And I was basically being held down by this energy force. And it felt very like, non-consensual. I was like, no, I don't like this. I don't like you doing this to me. I couldn't see it. It was just more like an energy, like a feeling. This has happened to me before, not a ton, but occasionally. Sometimes it happens just as I'm waking up. And so I got real good and, you know, empowered in the dream state. And I was like, no, you do not have my permission. Back off. Let go of me. Back off. Stop. Let go of me. Go away. And finally, I kind of got it to like, you know, I was like, back off. But what was really cool is I had the wherewithal, I had the foresight in the dream to go, wait a minute, it's there for a reason. What is it trying to show me? So I got a little bit curious and I was kind of like, hey, you, what are you here for? What do you want? And the energy was like, I'm trying to alert you. I'm trying to get you to like really pay attention. I'm trying to force your hand or make you see something, make you wake up. And so then I was like, okay, you keep your distance. You don't maul me with your energy, but I'm curious. I'm happy to hear you out. Show me what you want to illustrate to me. And then I got this massive download. Like I actually had to wake up and write stuff down and everything. It was all this stuff about looking at interesting. It links into Lupo's question about the additives so it was all about chemical warfare. It was all about like, you know, the chemtrails and all of this stuff, and really, really specific information, like names of substances that I've never even heard of. And I went and looked them up and there they were, and that kind of stuff. And it was, so the energy, and then I even got like, there was plants that were coming and literally imaginary growing out of my body were these plants. And they were going like, we want to work with you. And I was like, okay. So that big, what felt like, you know, non-consensual, aggressive, like controlling, perpetrating energy actually had a reason for doing that. And so that was a very interesting way to perceive this. You know, first of all, I feel like the first order of business is to always say, yeah, that's not the way I want to be treated. I understand that you had to do this to get my attention because there's so much going on, right? In the psyche, there's so much like chaos in all the realms right now, so much stuff coming at us simultaneously. So it is hard to kind of get your attention. But it felt to me like once it had my attention, once I said, okay, back off, but I didn't just banish it. I asked for it to show me what the lesson is. So, or what it is trying to maybe alert me to, protect me from. Yes. So go for it, Kara.
3.
I think we'll do a full one for
We'll
this.
do a full one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a pretty big question.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes, so we should do.
At least another couple. Yeah. Wow.
Oh my.
Wow. Wow. So this, now we're going to look specifically at your partner, Janice. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you're seeing, love.
Sometimes, just looking down the center here, sometimes spirit also comes along and pushes us into a forced type of decompression. And there may also be that your partner was needing to rest, that he was potentially stepping into a very masculine driven sort of point in his reality and on the verge of burnout. And sometimes if we're not able to make those decisions for ourselves, something can come along like a big fall or an accident that can happen that forces us into taking this rest and reevaluate some of the choices that we're making in life that would be like the first thing that kind of came up for me. Um, I'll let mom carry on because that was kind of what I saw. There's potentially also, well, I mean, there is the yes card, so but there is potentially an energy, like a new energy that's coming through him that's asking to be born. Some pretty big, it's a pretty big path to be entering into. So we'll see, Mama.
Yeah. I mean, let's start off by saying we don't see any really nasty cards here.
No.
Yes, the Emperor is dominant, right? It's like the masculine energy that can be, it can be very protective. It can like literally, and it can be like that, the father energy, right? The Emperor's the father. So it can be the father energy where it's like, you know, come on, get out of bed, or like, you know, come on, wake up. Like the father energy is known to be quite, let's just say, abrupt and power dominant when necessary, right? Like lay down the law, sort of, and there's the law card. So we can see it as being this, you know, not as delicate as potentially the mother energy has the capacity to be, right? So, and I'm just not talking just about men and women, I'm talking about masculine energy and feminine energy. So it, you know, sometimes I think we also get, funny, the guys are saying trumped, we also get energetically some homeopathic dose of what we need. So if he is in any way being dominant in his life with himself, with you, with other people, with the way he's approaching, just like what Crystal said, this is almost like he got a little homeopathic dose of, oh yeah, you want some power dominance? Here, right? And so it's not, this is not about disempowerment. It's about realigning, realignment, reattunement. 2 6s here. It's trying to bring, it's whatever happened, it's trying to bring him, as Crystal said, back into harmony.
Yeah, and enjoy the little moments, like
Yeah.
really take the slow path, take it in kind of baby steps, and learn how to enjoy that. Like something in Thanksgiving is so about enjoying all of the precious moments that we get to spend together. And if you're trying to accomplish something, if you're rushing through anything during that time, though, that's such a sacred time where we will actually be kind of forced into like, hey, slow down and really pace yourself, enjoy this time.
Definitely. Yeah. It again, this isn't like, oh, he was being punished. We don't see punishment here. It's not like, oh, he was doing something wrong and he got punished. It was also not that he was vulnerable and weak and got taken over by some dark entity that's trying to manipulate him. I don't see either of those extremes. Do you see either of those extremes?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It feels to me like it's some attempt from maybe his higher self.
Higher
It could
self,
even be
father figure.
ancestors, like either his father's father, like a grandfather figure, or someone that's just kind of giving him, a little going over. But again, the first order of business is to say, okay, I see that you're getting my attention and I would appreciate being respected. You don't need to knock me down. I'm listening, but then you got to listen, right? If you don't, they're going to say, well, we're going to do it again, right? It's like
karmic justice kind of steps in here.
Yeah. So say yes instead of no is the bottom line here. Say yes. And then what? It's not about, yes, you can just push me around, but it's like, yes, you've got my attention. I'm going to make a boundary, back off. Do not push me around, especially not physically or emotionally, mentally, spiritually, anyway, right? Don't dominate me. But you've got my attention. I'm listening. Now show me what I need to learn from this. So there we go.
Beautiful. Now we're gonna answer that last question
Nicole's
from
question.
yeah, and I see that there is some other personal questions that have come up. We don't always have time to answer those. However, you are always welcome to book even a quick dive with myself off the site for some of those quick questions that you want answered, because we don't always have the opportunity to get to those. And if you're needing something answered before our next live and we don't have the opportunity to get to it, definitely go on and just book a session. That's what we're here for. Okay. Cattle feed additive Bovaer.
So it's so interesting because this, you know, I've read on chemtrails a lot, as some of you know that have been following me for a while, and I've been getting mixed, right? I've been getting mixed messages for years now, like it's some good and some not so good, right? But I keep saying, it's a bit like what we just talked about, right? Okay, do we need to be bullied to the point of like, like our bodies being challenged by, clearly there are some negative chemicals still in some of this spray because I can feel it. And so this was something that came up in my dream sequence last night, with that energy trying to like force me to like not just write it all off too easily and say, oh great, the white hats are sorting it out and I don't need to still research and like push back a little bit more. You know, this is one of the narratives we've been told about the movie and the white hats, is that they're watching to see, are we actually awake enough to push back? And if we say, oh, well, they're going to fix it, we don't need to push back. It's kind of like they're going, well, I guess they're still waiting for us to do everything. And so it's sort of a bit of an insanity to say, we know that there's potentially, at least we would require more testing, more disclosure, more communication, more conversations about this out in the open, right? Like, you still go on to everything on the internet. We looked it up yesterday and it was like, because of the day before and some unbelievable amounts of spray in the sky, and we revisited it and it was like, it's still showing up in most places with most search engines, like, you know, just a debunking that this is a fake narrative, it's a conspiracy theory, blah, blah, blah. We're like, oh my God, right? Like, can we at least just get some really good open conversation? And I think the other thing that we found was really fascinating was that when we went on the Government of Canada website, there was all kinds of documentation on there about what constitutes chemical, what did they call it? Like chemical weather manipulation. Like, they actually have a whole section on the government website, and that you can request to get documentation about what is being sprayed in the skies. So then we contacted one of Crystal's friends who is really big. This is her wheelhouse. This is something she said she wrote in, what was it, like a year ago or something, for that documentation. And they said it was too big a file. They couldn't send it on the internet. And that they had to mail it to her, and then she didn't get it. And then she contacted them again and never heard back. So what I was getting in my dream sequence is, we need to not drop the ball yet. We need to keep on this, because it's almost like we're being tested in a way. Just like, look at it. This is us working, putting in the energy, the work to get to the bottom of this, even to find out what was sprayed in the past. Like, we need this to come out. And I actually, is it okay if I share the other part that I saw about your?
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you.
I actually was seeing our future descendants, children that Crystal may have, and other children that want to come in to be born into, you know, pretty high frequency, high evolutionary families where they can accomplish a lot. These souls are like, I literally saw a backlog of souls waiting to come in, and they were like, no way, man, we're not coming in with that stuff in the air. Like, you guys have to deal with that now, because we're waiting for you to get that out, because we can't do what we need to come in and do. If that air is full of that, it's going to compromise our, because they're sensitive, right? They're going to be so compromised trying to just function physically and get into these bodies and do amazing stuff. And they're like, we can't come in until you guys get that out. So I was like, that's what I woke up with this morning after this whole night of doing amazing dream work.
I'm curious as to how they use this additive and how they get it into their cattle if they're no, Ricky, I don't have children yet. If they're spraying it, if it's being injected into them, how that's happening. I feel like we're going to probably see quite the impact from it over the next few years.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you know, we're all really stepping onto the path of I even saw this morning that a dear friend, an ex-partner of mine, had his sheep that were his lambs that were up for sale, his sheep that were up for sale. And I just wanted to be like, thank you so much to all the people that are doing that and that are stepping up to offer us this food, you know, because we know what's happened with it. We know how loved they are. You know, we know where we're sourcing our meat from, and we're getting to the point where, like, if we don't know where we're sourcing our meat from, should we be really eating it at all?
Although we don't want to go down the eating insects road. We're
No.
not purporting that. So it's really about, you know, a major kind of theme in today's readings are, okay, this is we're in the new moon in Sag, we're in the sun in the sign of Sag. Once a year, we go through this at this time of year. And it's our opportunity to recommit to doing, you know, I mean, it's the inner work and it's the outer work. And a lot of the outer work we focused on in the last year or two has really been about the political narrative, about the economics, about creating these new, you know, like at least opening up the government bodies that are going to give us some breathing space from all that tight control, right? So we're at a bit of a pause, like a, you know, literally a breathing spot, a breathing space. And we're asked now to go, okay, let's get back to some of these issues. Like, let's get back to, again, physicality. This has come up a lot in today's readings. Get back into dealing with these practical things like the additives being put in our food. And, you know, like saying no. It's even if on some level, some of this is happening for our benefit, which I'm always open to considering that possibility. Still, it's just like that energy locking on to me or locking on to Janice's partner and pushing him. It's like, yeah, we can take responsibility and open our eyes and be educated and learn about things. We don't need to be pushed. We don't need to be tricked. And so I think what we're being asked to do is get back to some of the basics with everything to do with like the chemical warfare on our bodies. And that this is going to be a very, very big priority. There's a lot going on, right? There's a lot going on in terms of global economics, global, you know, social, political, military, industrial complex, all of the complexities of what's going on in the big stage. It's very distracting away from what is being put in our food and our water, what we're putting in our bodies, what's being sprayed on us. And yet it's like that is as important, as above, so below. Like, so, and that is an area that we can you know, we may not be able to get sitting around the round table in the Middle East on, you know, negotiations, but we can definitely hold our local, regional government bodies accountable for what's being put in our food. So I really get a feeling that this is the next maybe even 3 months that we get back into this. And, you know, it is because the children are waiting. The children are waiting for a healthier environment and for food that isn't filled with these additives and air and water that isn't filled with these toxins. So, you know, you could see it as being heartbreaking and depressing. I feel like we can only go up from here, right? This is the bottom of the barrel.
It's interesting to me because it's almost like there's two possible pathways that can happen here. It's like we've got this sort of pathway here, what they're putting into place, that, you know, using this feed and sending us into the lower levels of despair and heartbreak. And then there's also this like coming at this reality, these 3 cups here. These are really beautiful cups to have coming through. And it's almost like taking this high road of really stepping full force into this from our heart places and being like, this matters to us. You know, we're not beyond anger here. We're like calling for healing. We're calling for like, this is affecting us, not just physically, but emotionally. This is heartbreaking to us now, that this is like, how crazy that they can just go ahead and put these massive substances into our systems, into our food. And why is that not being cleared with us first? Why is it not being something that we all are choosing or not choosing? So I feel like we're being called to some sort of action here to take a higher road and start like leading with our hearts and our passion to like.
We just declared, I mean, you know, it's sort of like pick a battle, right? And we just declared after that, well, it actually started a couple of days ago when we woke up to a sky full. And within, it was so bizarre. I mean, we've seen this for decades, right? But it was like literally, I actually went and woke Crystal up because it was like, okay, you got to see it. It was pretty early in the morning. And I said, I have a feeling we won't be able to see it 5 minutes from now. And exactly what I said. She came out, looked 5 minutes later, the whole sky was just cloud cover. And so I was like, you know, if you missed that, like it was probably visible for maybe 20 minutes. And it was on this was on, I think, Sunday morning. It was on a Sunday morning when people are sleeping in, right? So they're going to spray the sky and it's going to look like that, but nobody will even see it. And you'll just wake up and go, oh, another cloudy day, right? So it's that, when I see that kind of action, that's what makes me realize that we are not free of this yet. Because to me, when we're free of it, for one, it's no longer going to be debunked. It's going to be clear and out in the public narrative on all the main channels that this has been an issue for decades and that a lot of harm has been done to humanity as a result of this. Same with glyphosate, same with food additives and things that are being put in the water. All of this, it feels like the next really major thing that we need to be rallying around. And again, think about the children. Think about the children coming in and like, yeah. Susan saying, I feel you're correct. It's a wake-up call for animal cruelty, big pharma, climate scams, a push to start being aware and accountable. Thank you, Tarot by Lupo, for this amazing question. Start being aware and accountable, protecting ourselves, children, animals, and nature. Yeah, it's Yeah.
We all have to start somewhere, you know, like it was so interesting yesterday to contact my friend, and she's like, thank you for reaching out. I've been working on this and working on this and working on this. And it's like just beautiful to know that we're like every little bit that you step towards working on it does make a difference. So for us to continue to gather our forces and our kin, that our tribes people that are working towards a greater future for our children and for the world in general. So thank you all for your questions. There's been so many beautiful ones and many that we have missed. So please join us again next week and we will continue on. It's been so beautiful to have you all here today.
Absolutely, as always. And of course, like, share, and subscribe. You can book a session with Crystal. Follow the link below. You can book a session with me over on Beyond Mystic. You can find me there with Meg doing the As Above, So Below show later on today. And we will see you all here next week. Have a beautiful week, everybody.